On my journey to become the best version of myself during quarantine, I interviewed guests who gave their life experiences and expertise on love to finances and everything in between. Join me to learn a thing or two on becoming the best version of you with Gigi Show. Hello, good evening and greetings. We are back for another episode of Becoming the Best Version of You with G. And as you can see, I have some guests with me again. I already mentioned on the last segment that I was going to do this 3 times. So this is a little mini series on Black love because I was so inspired by the show. And so I personally knew some beautiful Black couples who were in love. And so last week I interviewed a couple that I met in college, and they've been married for 19 years. And so that was an amazing interview. And you can look at it again on my timeline. And so this week I wanted to interview newlyweds. And so Richie and I'll introduce them in a second. Actually, let me do it now. Let me formally introduce the newlyweds. We have, y'all know I get my left and right mixed up when I'm on Zoom. So Richard Lee and his lovely wife, Jamila, is joining us from what city and town, Richard?
We're in Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay, they're in Tallahassee, Florida. All right. And then
always repping Detroit, though. Always repping Detroit.
Always repping Detroit. That's right. And then
the South.
What'd you say, Jamila?
I'm from the SIP.
Mississippi. And
down there somewhere.
Whatever.
And then we have our next couple. We got the Brady Bunch screen going on. We have below, Mr. and Mrs. Hardy, which is Jonathan and Ashley. And you guys are all the way from where?
Outfield, Michigan. We'll say Detroit Metro. But...
Okay. Okay, Detroit Metro. So back to my conversation about newlyweds. Richard and I had a conversation the other day. I think Jamila was on the line too. And we were trying to figure out, like, how long are you technically a newlywed? And so I actually looked it up, y'all. And so I thought at first maybe like a year, maybe 2, but according to Wikipedia, it's 4 years.
Oh.
Can you believe that? Yeah. I don't know who set that rule, but I was like, okay, I can dig it because I was married for almost 10 years and together 18. So I would kind of agree with that 4 years, you're still in the beginning phase. You truly are getting to know each other, breaking that ice. And so welcome to the show, guys. Thank you again for taking the time out to hang out with us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So we're going to dig right in. I am familiar with these lovely couples because I grew up with them, basically. We kind of grew up like family in the church. And I literally watched these young men grow up. I'm telling my age a little bit, but watched them grow up to be some fine young men because they come from some good stock themselves. Sometimes a lot of guys will say, I married a woman who comes from good stock. But sometimes, I don't know if it's just not said, but I'll say it, that these gentlemen here joining today also come from some good stock. They come from very good families. And so I am not surprised that they marry the women that they have married because of that, So let's dig right in, y'all. So the whole purpose of this is just to spread the love. in the world right now, we so desperately need more of it. You know, I don't know about y'all, but I do, because it's rough out here in these streets. Right. And so, you know, I'm inspired to get to know, you know, how these newlyweds are doing, kind of check in with them and ask a really cool question. Then at the end, we're going to play a quick game of, y'all know how corny I am, the newlywed game. So let's get started. So I'll be going back and forth and all over the place with my questions. So bear with me. So we'll start off with the Lees up there. So first of all, how long have you guys been married?
We've been married 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Okay. And the Hardys, how long have you guys been married?
2. What, past June? So yeah.
And let me add, they have the cutest little baby. Oh my gosh. Adorable. I am so in love. Adorable. Where's the baby right now?
At his grandparents. He's at my parents' house. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, he is so sweet. Y'all make some pretty babies.
Hey, we were blessed. So that's can't even take credit for it, but yeah, that's been great.
Yeah. So do you guys want any more?
Yeah, we're actually having one in December.
Yep, one on the way.
Whoa! Breaking news! You heard it here first. On the live.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Wow! Congratulations!
Thank you.
Oh my goodness! Now I wasn't expecting that one, y'all. Y'all got me goosebumps over here. Oh my goodness, I am so excited.
Mm-hmm. It's the people on Facebook going crazy. Man, they didn't tell me.
It's kind of hard to know in the pandemic. You know, you haven't seen it about it, so everybody quarantined. So quarantine babies coming out too.
Oh, it's gonna be a lot of quarantine babies. That's the truth. That's the truth. Praise God, I'm not one of them right now. But so, do you know if it's a girl or a boy?
It's a girl.
Oh.
I love the mix.
Oh my gosh, y'all. I am done. This interview is over.
All right, we go.
What? And it's a girl? Oh my goodness, y'all. I am so happy for y'all. One of each. That is so good. You know, sometimes we know a couple who the Perrys, you know, lot of girls trying for that boy. So to have one of each, that's awesome.
It's true.
That's awesome. Oh my God. Well, I don't know how I can top that right there, y'all. But congratulations. That's wonderful. I can't wait to meet her. I know she's going to be beautiful. Okay, since we talking about babies, y'all, I might as well ask y'all, Jamila, you having a baby right now?
No.
Okay. Any more? Let me know if I got any more surprises. Y'all might as well get them out right now.
No surprises. Yeah.
Negative. Okay. As a matter of fact, I don't think Richard family could handle it, hearing it on here first. I know that for sure. I would be in trouble and he would be in trouble.
He would be in trouble. I would be in trouble. It would just be a mess.
It would. The Harrises, we are we not married. We are related through marriage. So I know his family very well. We share aunties and uncles.
My mother just texted me.
You said your mom just what?
My mother texted me, so she's watching.
Oh Lord, let me be good.
Very closely.
She have been and called my mother, and they probably on the phone together watching. Okay, y'all. So wait, before we move on, do you guys want any kids?
Yes.
You do? Okay. All right. So we'll look. Oh, so since they made the grand announcement here, y'all know, when y'all ready, call me up, after you done told one or two people, and then we got to make the grand announcement on here. Jamila like,
My child will probably be 4 or 5 years old before they know I had it.
Ooh, 4 or 5 years old. Get out of here.
Well, we gotta do the big gender reveal.
No.
Oh, that'll be Jamila. Come on, that is so fun.
Yeah.
I'll help y'all set it up. That'll be so fun.
No.
What'd you say, Richie?
On top of the Renaissance building. It's just gonna be a fireworks show.
Oh, that's so cool. Did you guys do a revealing party?
Not with the first one, but with this one, we did like a small one because I really was hoping that it was a girl. I could feel it. So yeah, my sister wanted to do one, so we did a little tiny one in my parents' backyard.
I was gonna say, Lord, I hope it wasn't just now, because you're gonna get me in trouble too. Okay, good. So they'd already know it's a girl. Okay. Okay, cool. Wow, what a great start, y'all. I'm really excited now. Okay, so back to the show. So let's figure out how y'all are creating all these beautiful babies, how y'all got connected. So since we talking about that, I'm gonna start off with y'all. So you guys have been married, you said two and a half years?
Going on 2.5.
We were 2.5.
You're 2.5. Okay.
Too much
So let's go through the story. I'm such a good storyteller, and I love to listen to stories as well. So how did you guys meet?
I'll let you tell us.
So I had like a little business on the side with a friend, and it was called Single Pearls of Wisdom, and we were gonna do a soft launch, and we were looking for some entertainment for that. And John and I went to rival high schools.
Oh.
And so his best friend dated my best friend. And it just so happened that like a few months earlier, he had requested me as a friend on like Instagram. So I knew that
You requested me.
You requested me. I was super single and living my solo dolo life and was not requesting any guy. So he requested me. And I noticed that he did spoken word. So I reached out to him and was like, hey, we have this event coming up. Would you be interested? He responded, yes. So he ended up coming to the event. I think that was like May 29th in 2015. And all my friends were like, oh, he's cute. But he came with a girl that I knew. So, I wasn't like thinking anything of it other than I was like, oh, he's really like cool guy. But then afterwards I had sent him a message on Instagram, like, thanks again for coming by. Didn't get a chance to grab a copy of your book, but my parents bought 2, so I'll read it eventually. And he was like, oh no, don't worry. I have like tons of copies. I can sign a couple for you. You want to meet for coffee, this weekend. And I'm like, I'm talking to my sister. I'm like, why? Like, just send me.
They always want to meet for coffee. He wants to meet for coffee. I don't drink coffee.
Right. Like, mail me my copy. But she was like, no, go, like, see what's going on. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we meet for coffee. We end up talking for like 7 hours in the coffee shop.
Wow.
I know that the folks were pissed because I only bought like one.
I think we both just bought one.
One coffee. And
stressed it up.
Yeah. And then after that, like, we would talk on the phone frequently, and we were friends for a few months, and then we started like becoming exclusively official dating. So
okay, so you know me, girl. I got to get all the details. So let me back up. So let me get the story straight. So you're at spoken word together, and he comes with a girl. And so what happened to the girl?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
I was about to say, that's not my concern.
That's about a story that just dropped off.
So did you ask him, was this your girlfriend? You just never mind her?
I mean, like at the time, like it was, you know, when we were like those few months that we were friends, like there was nothing like, you know, there.
Okay.
I mean, although like he would make hints that he wanted to, you know, be more than friends, but I was, you know, I wasn't paying attention to it. So, you know, it never crossed my mind because what his actions were showing was that he wanted to spend time with me. It didn't feel like I was like Monday, you know, Wednesday and Saturday. It was like when we weren't together, we were like texting throughout the day or we were on the phone at night. So, and you know, when he was busy, like he'd say like, I'm out doing this or I'm with my family or da-da-da. So there wasn't anything that made me question like, oh, he's probably, you know, dating somebody else and da-da-da. And if he was, that's fine because
you were friends.
Right.
I wasn't though.
I did eventually ask him like,
clear it up, brother Jonathan, clear it up.
Right, you gotta make it plain, right? So
I did eventually ask him like I think it might have been like after we got together though. I was like,
it was like later that summer.
Yeah, I was like, did you come with her or were you like friends? And I guess they were in between. I don't know.
Well, look, it looked like, you know, he living his best life now, honey. So with baby number 2, so he made his picking.
This is true.
And it seems like it was a good one too. So
no regrets. No regrets.
Amen to that. Okay, so we're gonna be getting there in everybody's business. So we're gonna come back to you guys in a few. So Miss Jamila and Richard, how did you guys meet?
So I'm going to start at the very beginning.
Okay.
I grew up Southern Baptist, so I'm originally from Mississippi. So it wasn't a dating night, it wasn't a DM, anything like that. Because, you know, people asked. We were long distance when we dated. I went to my church. My aunt always played for Church of Christ Holiness Church growing up since she was 15. So once we moved from our home church, we joined the church in Mississippi that was under the same affiliation. So we started getting involved, going to the conventions. So 2 years before we met, actually, officially, he saw me on a teleprompter singing with my South Central Diocese. So he asked the drummer, somebody we knew mutually, the drummer who played at my church back in Jackson, who I was, and he was like, "No, she off limits." You know, I was dating at the time, somebody that I was in, but it wasn't nothing serious. So fast forward to 2 years later, I had recently moved back home, back to Jackson. I had moved off from Jackson on the coast, 2 or 3 hours from my hometown. So I moved back home. My birthday was the 14th of May. So I had just turned 30. And it was a prayer that I prayed. I said I didn't want to get serious in my 20s. I want to do what I want to do. I met him 3 days after I turned 30.
Look at God. Look at God, y'all. Ladies.
No, because I wasn't in this space. So
okay, hold on.
No. So he was over the music workshop that year. That was his first year of the music workshop, and they had never had it at my church. So that was the first year they had it at my church, and I had just recently moved back, probably that February. So it was kind of ordained. So we met, and he gave me that same spiel, let's meet for coffee. And I'm like, we didn't meet for coffee, but he got my number from the guy that played the drums at my church. I didn't give him my number.
That's smooth.
So I get a text message. Yes, I get a text message. He gonna disagree. But I get a text message from a 313 number. Hey, I don't know what that is. I'm from 601. If it was 601-662-769-228, I didn't know it. So I get a text from him saying, how are you doing? And I'm like, who is this? And I was polite, but I did ask who it was. And he told me, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So we started conversing, but it wasn't anything serious. because, you know, it was long distance. So that summer, I ended up going to the convention, which was in Dallas. And we met up and he went to eat with my family. And so after we met, and my aunt kind of called me to the side, she was like, that one, something on that one's serious. So I need you to, you know, get yourself together because he's actually looking for a wife. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know what he's looking for, but I ain't looking for that. And so after we had, I mean, I was fighting it because I was trying to actually get myself together.
Right.
You know, career-wise, trying to figure out what I was going to do. So after we went and ate together with family, me and him met up for lunch. And he said, you know, I don't know where you are in life, you know, him as well. We had a very, like you said, we talked for hours because we were leaving the next day. And he said, I want you to try this with me. And it's kind of like a faith walk because he would always say we're 948 miles away. He was in Detroit and I was in Jackson, Mississippi. So all we had was the phone. You know, I had an Android then, so he hated that I had an Android.
I had to upgrade her.
So I've had an Apple ever since.
I had to bring her up.
So, you know, FaceTime.
Starting off, leveling up.
So FaceTime, we would talk. We would have Bible classes on the phone. And at this point, we were just talking, and you know, dating, getting to know each other. So yeah, I guess you could say we met at church. You know, he lives at church, so that would just be appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, God is there, so that's a good thing. I would say yes.
Can I add one more piece to it?
Please. Yes.
And I'll be brief. So the year before we met at her church, I was visiting that same church, and I said, but the Spirit, I knew it was God in the long run, but I said through God, or God through me, that we should have the event at this church. And so, you know, people say that their steps are ordered. Mm-hmm. Like literally, he set up a year in advance that I would be at this church. And so when I went to the church, or when I was trying to book the church, guess who I was booking the church through? Her auntie. Wow. The same aunt who was at dinner with us and said he's serious. So, you know, you may think that you're booking an event, you're actually booking a ticket into the family. So, you know.
Amen. That's a great look at you, girl. Jamila, you are not about to have me laughing, girl. You a mess. But that was a beautiful story. Both of them. That's why I love, y'all. I'm such a hopeless romantic. Wow, that was beautiful. So, ladies, who are watching, who are single, listen to both of these stories. You know, they were not, neither one of them said that they were chasing anybody, that they were looking for anybody. They were consumed with doing what they were supposed to be doing, you know, and then they ran into, you know, Mr. Right. So I want to go back to the Hardys. So Jonathan, how did you know that Ashley was the one?
Oh, this is a good question.
Well, it was a few things. I think so. In the beginning, when we talk about her event, I remember our first conversation. Like I knew of Ashley just because, you know, as she said before, our best friends had talked, and then it was just our circles were very, very close. She had just found a picture of me. It was your prom,
my prom,
but I was there with my friend, and just because I knew the people that were going to prom. So, and it was just interesting how close, you know, our worlds were, how intertwined they were. But so it was a few things. Our first conversation, it kind of just flowed naturally, and it was just like, this girl is, you know, she looked real good, and then she's smart, she got a business. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have to take note of this thing.
You like winning.
So our first conversation was really like, it was good. Like it flowed well. It wasn't an awkward one. It was kind of like, and I think we even said it was like we were talking like we knew each other. So it was kind of like it was just flowing naturally. And then when we had coffee, we pretty much was just going on and on about everything. So it was kind of like that just steered it into that direction. But how did I know? So I'm hugely involved with my family. Like my family, like before I was married and things of that nature, I was always at either my parents' house or Natalie's house.
Yes.
For those who don't know, that's my sister. So and playing with my nephews and my niece, and so it was huge. That was big for me. And as I found out more about Ashley, it was just I saw that she was very like her family was pretty much the same way. They were really close knit. Her sister was her best friend. She talked to her parents every day. So it was like I needed and wanted that just because I was like that. So you kind of want somebody that's on the same page and understands that, and somebody that don't be thinking, oh, where was you at? And you be like, I was at my parents' house till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, which does happen because our Bible studies would go late. And she done been at a few, so she know. But it was just good to be able to sync on and have a lot of commonality. And then secondly, with my book and things of that nature, she was very supportive. I know she had told me about it was like a author spotlight, things in that nature. And so I had gone to that. She had helped me with it and was sitting up there with me and things of that nature. And then I always liked that when we were out together, if we were at an event or if we were at people's houses, she would check on me as far as like, "Ooh, you want to play?" and things of that nature. So it was a lot of that was just like, this girl, yeah,
He was raised right.
we're gonna have to add this one to the family. So it was a few things. I don't know that it was a moment, but I think it was just like as you get to know a person and you getting closer and closer, and you find out you have a lot in common, and then a lot of areas that she is stronger in, I may not be as. So you kind of see where somebody can compliment you. So that was kind of like how I knew that she was the one.
Wow. Oh, Ashley. I know everybody, all the girls watching probably said that at the same time. Oh, we had a few of those moments last week too. Okay, so actually, Jonathan, I would say you had a few moments. You had a few scenarios to show you over and over and over again that she was the one and wifey material.
Definitely.
Because of what she showed you. And ladies, she was not performing. I have to do these sidebars because these are all teachable moments. I'm trying to get everybody married in healthy relationships, include myself. So this lesson here is that she wasn't performing. She wasn't like, pick me. She was just in her natural zone and just being herself. And we don't have to put on no kind of fronts or, do flips or, wave signs. I'm the one. I can do and list all of the stuff that we can do. She showed by her actions, this is who I am and this is what I do. And you see she's sitting there next to a handsome young man on baby number 2. Y'all better get some notebook and pen out, start taking notes. All right. Couple number 2. I can't wait to hear this. So Richie, how did you know? Look at Jamila. She's so funny, y'all. How did you know that your wife was the one? She gave us several scenarios and you gave us several scenarios how it came together. But what was it about her that stood out for you?
Well, first, I know the scripture says we should walk by faith and not by sight. But when I put sight on her, that was the first indication that something was different. And so, people say it's God or their spirit led me Well, I'm just gonna be honest. I saw her and was like, I can't go back. Yeah, it was definitely. She caught my eye, and so other than that, though, when we had that event, I went around and took pictures of the event, right? And so back then, the whole Instagram sign was in. Like when you go to an event, you put up the Instagram poster board. And so I went around to every single person that I could and took pictures. And at the end of the night, her and her family were there, and I went to take her picture. I took her mom's picture. I took her aunt's picture. When I went to take her picture, she didn't want to take it. And so I'm like, okay, it's okay. It's all good. Everybody else took a picture. And when I took the picture came out blurry. This was the only picture that night that came out blurry. So I said, hey, something wasn't right. Let me take it again. I took it a second time. The picture came out blurry again. So I said, well, let me just kind of see, sometimes, you take a picture in certain lighting, and then when you get back home, it looks okay. Well, to this day, that picture is blurry. And it was because God was showing me that it's not just about the physical and not just about what you see. And so that he wanted me to get to actually know her beyond physical, beyond what the eyes could see. And so that was like one of the first signs. God worked in like some true miracle signs and wonders to show me, because he has to get your attention. And he will get your attention because our attention, to be honest, we're both going in opposite directions. She had her attention other places. I had my attention other places. And so he has to sometimes step in and give you signs that you will not, there's no way that you can deny what he's showing you. Man. And so when we went to that conference, it was just so many signs. It was about 5 or 6 like miracle type signs that happened during that event that we both walked away from that conference saying, we can't deny that there's something there. And I think really that's what gave her the peace to want to continue long distance. I know it gave me the peace because, long distance has like a stigma. But when God is in it, there's no distance too great for God. And so when he's the center of the situation.
That's the word, y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all got to know, anybody on this call, y'all got to know that he is very dramatic. So go with the theatrics. No. But listen to the content, but go with the theatrics. Okay?
Girl, I can't judge because I am too. So he's speaking my language. But it's beautiful, Jamila. I do believe that God operates in a spirit like that. And I don't believe
definitely.
What seems impossible to man, the scripture says all things are possible. So it may look like it's an impossible situation or it'll never work out. But we can't operate like that. We have to change our thinking. And when you think in the flesh, it's like, yeah, it won't work out, but with God, all things are possible.
Absolutely. He was definitely spirit led. I think that is what has gotten me in trouble in the past. I told this, and I won't talk about a whole bunch of my stories because I got endless of relationship stories. Okay. Some were good, some were not so good. But they were all so many lessons. And these were conversations that I had with the leads the other night. I don't regret any of them. And I'm shocked to hear me say that right now, because I had some very, very painful breakups. But when the Lord tells you to let something go, let it go. And when he tells you to go seek after this, especially men, not women, but go after it, because it's a blessing in store for you, in waiting for you, and that's good. I'm glad you mentioned that, the flesh part, because in this world today, men and women, I would just say men, but women too, we'll see something fine man, then a mug walking by like, oh, who is that? You know, and it's the devil in disguise. I have been there too, okay, unfortunately. So when that spirit talks to you though, that's your compass, you know, that's your compass. And a lot of people, you know, don't listen to it. You know he ain't right, you know she not right, but you so caught up in that flesh that it pulls you in, and before you know it, you in a hot mess. So I'm glad. Look at Jonathan. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Been out here dating world. I know all of y'all mates didn't act so nice as Jonathan and Richard, ladies. So y'all know what I'm talking about. Hopefully y'all ain't go through some of the stuff I went through, but I'm living. Huh?
If I could just say, you know, I was trying to order my own steps.
Okay.
And I was literally out there trying to, you know, trying to see, and they say he who finds, but sometimes we're out there looking, and we're looking in the wrong places when God is trying to show it. And so I think that you have to check that sometimes, that, you know, God is going to work through you, but you don't have to do all the work.
Amen.
You know?
That's the truth. And I was doing way too much.
But I want to pick up off of with the female perspective. I went through some of the same situations with relationships, and I had got to the point where I was driving home one night from work. I was on shift work because I worked at a chemical plant, and I had got off of work at 11 that night and cried all the way home. And I said, God, whoever it is, you just gonna really have to just place him, just put him there, because I'm not finna. I was off the grid. I didn't want to date. I didn't want to talk to nobody. And then the time I met him, I was going through a lot. And I straight off told God, I was like, I'm not ready for no relationship. And I told him, I was like, I can't offer you anything. I don't have anything to offer. Mm-hmm. And like he said, a lot of times we want to offer stuff in the flesh, our careers, things that we have, material, but a lot of times it's spiritual and encouragement and support. And we can be all night just on our story alone. But I encourage females, like, sometimes God send you what you need. He will send you some things that you want, but he'll definitely send you what you need. And in the season of that moment, even now, you know, a lot of people don't know, Richard picked up from Detroit and moved to Tallahassee to support me in pharmacy school.
That's
so
love,
he knew but he knew I needed somebody, not support in my career, but I needed emotional support, spiritual covering. So that's very important. So I know, like, a lot of times he said, you know, Chase, and like Sister Hardy said, she wasn't even on the radar to get married or dating. It was organic. Mm-hmm. So if you place your focus on God and loving yourself, that's when he said, okay, it's time for me to put somebody in who can enhance that, and you all can enhance each other.
And I just want to add, like,
that's so good. Well, hold on, Ashley. You're going to hear me say nuggets a lot, because I believe the teachable moments, you know, you hold on to that, put in your tool belt, because you'll need it later. That was a good nugget. And I know you're about to share another one, Ashley. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what, to kind of go in with what Jamila was saying, you attract what you are reflecting emotionally.
That's
so when, like, for me, similar to Jamila, I had, like, a couple years prior, had finally gotten to a point where I was like, well, you know what, God, I quit. I'm done. like I'm over here trying to figure it out. Like, I got on, like, for 2 days, like, Match.com. And I was like, this ain't for me. I can't do this.
Right.
But I know a lot of people that do, but for me, it wasn't like, that wasn't something that God told me to do. And a lot of women will date or will move into, like, the dating scene based upon fear, like a scarcity mentality. Like, there's not enough, because, you know, the dating scene is rough, let's be real. But, you know, there's not enough good guys out here. So this one has potential. I'm gonna hold on to this. And it's like, but if you're trying to look at marriage, potential is going to be, unless you see growth and progress, that's actually somebody's reality. And you can't.
Oh, jeez.
That was a good nugget.
That's like a 10-piece right there.
and at some point, you're going to have to face that fact that, like, you know, potential isn't enough for marriage.
That's right.
Right. And so I think
that's good.
Like for me, I got to a place similar to Jamila. I wasn't even thinking about that because I got to a place where I was like, oh, this is what Paul meant when he was talking about contentment. Okay. I was out here. I always joke around and say, like, I was out here like Jill Scott, living my life like it was golden, because I was enjoying my life. I was finally at a point where I was like, this is what single is. That didn't mean that I didn't have moments where, you know, I'd be home, you know, on the couch, like, man, it'd be really nice to have, you know, some companionship. But what, for me, it was like, I know that whatever season this is, God has me getting ready and getting me to a place that I need to be in for my husband to like see me, right?
Amen.
So I would just say that, like, for those who are out there still looking, or I should say waiting to be found,
yes,
that don't work on getting past that fear mindset, because we've all been there where we are single and we see a good looking guy, and to your point, Gigi, you're like, well, does he have a ring? You know, like, how is he single?
Yeah.
Don't do it.
You know, especially in church. Oh, he's in church. Is he single?
No, and I was opposite. I was like, no musicians, no church people, no clergy, no, you know what I'm saying? Because I grew up in the church. I knew the background. So I was saying no. And see, mine was different from yours. Like, I was content with being single, but I wasn't happy with myself. And so God showed me his love through Richard. And he was like, okay, and even in our mess, he loves us in spite of. So, like, I'm telling you, we could go all night with this, but I just want people to get that you don't have to look, you don't have to go on Match, you don't have to go on Black People, you don't even have to go on Farmers, because you ain't supposed to be out in no field trying to plow with no farmer trying to get in a relationship.
Wait, hold on now. Jamila, people go to extreme measures. Jamila, I gotta stop you right there. Okay. I'm not familiar with the online dating. Okay, so I'm
not either.
Wait a minute, you just dropped a bomb right quick. You said farmers.
If they got a commercial, run a commercial on TV.
Yeah.
That's a dating, online dating for just farmers.
Yeah, if you're looking for somebody that's a farmer doing it.
I didn't heard it all. Okay. I had to go back.
I'm just saying, like, even with men, we talk from a female's perspective, but men are worthy too. So if you're a good man, you have good content about yourself, like Jonathan said earlier, like, I had a lot going for me. I was inspiring, trying to do stuff with the community. So you are deserving too of a good woman.
That's right.
And we push, the female, but men too deserve to have good wives and substance in relationships. So you don't have to settle for anything. Age is nothing but a number. You don't have to, settle. Is God will send you, like, and I know people that have lists. He have to look this way. He got to make this. And it was some things on my list that I didn't get, for sure. But
she didn't need it. That was the thing. She didn't need it. That's okay.
I didn't need it. It was stuff that I wanted on my list, but he knew exactly what I needed. And most of the time, I feel like I've been with Richard for 40 years, honestly. I feel like we've known each other for years. And sometimes it don't even feel like we're married. It feels more like an organic friendship, like we best friends.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I enjoy, because I always said growing up, I wanted my husband to be my best friend. I have close friends, yes, that's like family. But we can joke, we can, we disagree like all couples do.
Mm-hmm.
We have to compromise, we have to sit down and talk about things.
Mm-hmm.
But that God knew that's what I needed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
and let me I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I wasn't. I was done, but I just want people to know that, like, we so oftentimes seek for things that in society and the media has painted so many pictures of relationship goals, and it's false and fraudulent. God will send you what you need.
That's right. And let me add, he will send you what you want to, because you wouldn't be married to him if you ain't have some wants on there that was on the list. So back to the list, ladies, I'm here to tell you, your man not gonna be 100% of what you put on the list. You are not gonna be everything that he want on his list either. It's impossible. We talking about two different human beings, male and female species, okay? So everybody's not going to have everything. However, like you said, you don't have to settle though. You gotta, you might have some main 5 things that you can't, they're deal breakers. Keep those things for sure. But some of the superficial stuff, we might have to let some of those go. But being equally yoked, and I'm hearing both couples say that they were equally yoked and they were best friends. And so that friendship is monumental. That's how I ended up getting married, is because I married my best friend, and he's still a good guy. We're friends now. I don't have any regrets. But sometimes things happen. No bitterness at all towards it. But marry your best friend, get to know that person, because when I was in a relationship, I met a gentleman who was Middle Eastern. He was trying to hit on me or whatever. And I actually thought it was kind of funny because I didn't know what he was doing. And then I figured it out. And so he asked me, was I in a relationship? And I told him yes. And this is what got me right here. He said, do you love him? I said, yes. This what got me, the second one. He said, do you like him? I said, whoa. I said, nobody ever asked me that. And then I started thinking, I'm like, honestly, I don't know if I like him. So when you are friends with a person, you like them and you fall in love with them. That's a win-win. Because when that person gets sick, when that person, gain a few pounds or lose a few pounds or lose a job or money tight, that love might stop for a minute, because sometimes we love conditionally. But when you love somebody unconditionally, that's when that light come in and you have the best intentions for them. Whether you have everything intact or not, you have their back. And that's a solid foundation that I think a lot of relationships are missing out on, is to slow down a bit. You know what I mean? That's why so many of them don't work out, So I'm glad you guys are saying what you're saying. I got 3 pages of questions. So let me start covering some of these. What'd you say, Richie?
I throw one thing, just to piggyback on what you said. And this is something that helped me. It was probably at some point in the marriage, early on, God told me, it's okay, she is not perfect. Because you have this mindset that just because she's perfect for you and that God bless you with her, that she's going to be fit this, you're not going to always agree. She's her own individual, like you said. And so I think that's what really helped me, is that, she's going to have days where days are difficult.
Yeah.
Especially being in pharmacy school, she was dealing with certain things and tests and 8 classes and coming home, and it wasn't perfect because she was dealing with so much. She was beat up during the course of the day. Yeah. Of course, you're not gonna come home and be everything that I want And the picture that I want when I get off work, I want you to be just like this, this, and this. And so when God showed me that she is your gift that I've given to you, but don't treat it as if it's perfect or nothing, or my expectations or nothing. You see what I'm saying? And I think that kind of helped me as a man kind of charter the waters, because some arguments it would be like, okay, well, that's not even directed at me. You know, that's not it's not to me. So I don't have to. Sometimes we do try to, as men, we try to, well, let me win this one, but everything is not for it to win. And so your spouse will never be perfect. God has perfectly blessed them with you, but they're not perfect. And I think that's important to realize.
Yeah, that's another good nugget. So let me ask you guys some of these questions that I have put together. Is marriage everything that you thought it would be?
I almost cussed right then, so I'm gonna let them go. I'm gonna let them go first because I had to catch my tongue, so I'm gonna let the hardest go first on that one.
All right, Hardee's, go ahead.
I'll say no, just because you come in with certain expectations, and you come in thinking a certain way, not even knowing that it was an expectation until you get into a situation with somebody else. I think in some aspects, marriage is better than I imagine, just for the fact of like your connection and how things work. But as far as, so from my perspective, when I grew up, I saw how my parents did it. And you think kind of when you get in, okay, it'll probably just flow that way. And one, it was a different time period. You got a different, it was a different structure in the home. Yeah. And roles were a little different as far as because of the time period. And then even raising the child and things of that nature, it's just, you think because you've experienced something or you were brought up in a certain way that when you get into marriage, it's going to be the same exact way. So I think in that, it wasn't like a shock where it was just like, oh my God, it's like nothing like I expected. But I think, yes, it's definitely different from going from traditional to a more modern field, where my mom was a stay-at-home mother, actually works. And my father was the only one, he was a breadwinner, so he was the one that went out. And then even when it came to children, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she was the one mainly working with us. Obviously, my dad was there, and he, interacted with us as well. But we got most of it, from her, just because of how the things were structured. And we see pretty much now being in our family and how our household is set up, equal time. And then we had no need to go to daycare and things of that nature, but with both of us working and relieving our parents and things of that nature off it, because as we get older, they are too. So it was just like, you see how, when you come into a marriage, you have your own perspective of it. So you're like, okay, it's going to go like this, but it's really two becoming one. Your perspectives have to merge in some way, shape, or form. And it's a compromise. It should be a give and take. You shouldn't always be losing, but yet again, they shouldn't always be losing either, because then resentment comes in, and then you have a whole different like storm through your relationship. It should be where, out of most situations, some of you all should be able to give and take something away from it. Mm-hmm. So I think that was probably the thing as far as marriage is was it like what I thought it was going to be? Not exactly, but if you're able to work, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if it was what you thought, if it's better than what you thought, worse than what you thought. You're like, well, marriage is one for the long haul forever. So what do I do to get this to the marriage that we want it to look like, rather than what I just wanted to do? So.
And before I go to the Lees, let me ask you this other question. Do you think that, do you wish that your parents, this is for both of you, Ashley, had prepped you a little more Do you feel like, you wish you had known something before you got married, or you just, you were good figuring it out, as newlyweds the past 2 years?
I feel like for me, my parents tried to tell me as much as possible for example, when we were engaged to get married, one of the biggest issues within our relationship was where we were going to live. I wanted to buy a new house, and he wanted me to move into the condo that he lived in. And so for me, it's like, I want to start fresh, like, and it's a lovely condo, but I was like, I want to start fresh. I want to go house hunting, all this other stuff. Like, we're starting this marriage, like, I want our thing, not something that used to be like John's family's thing, and I'm just like sliding in there.
Right.
So through that whole process, my parents were like, okay, we know how you are. Like, you need to think about where he's coming from, what his mindset is. Like, they were talking to me as like, okay, now you get married, just realize like these types of conversations, it might not be about a house, but it'll be about something else, and helping me to like navigate what that looks like. I can be stubborn. So while I was listening, I was also like, but that's not what I want. Okay. So, so I think my parents, and just growing up and like watching their marriage as well. My parents they'll be married this coming February, I think like 38 or 39 years.
Wow.
So even just watching like how they've been able to handle like challenges, or if someone's laid off, or where they might not necessarily agree on something, like how if the discussion happens, and it's not a fight, but it's a discussion, like being able to have grown up and seen that, I think has been helpful in how my approach has been. Granted, like I said, I'm a little stubborn, so I've had to learn how to
A little.
we both are quiet.
Probably spoiled.
That too.
Mhm.
And I like to live a certain way. So, having to, and not that John doesn't like nice things either, but he's definitely much more
Frugal is the word.
yes.
Frugal.
And so, me having to come in and join that, I'm like, I can afford it. Like, I mean, I was single out here in my Cadillac coupe, so
Word.
but I think, so to answer your question, yes, my parents have, through their actions, and especially like right before marriage, given me some tips and pointers in how to do a better job, how to be a better wife, and like navigate some of these things. But I also feel like you just have to get in it. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's kind of like you jump in and figure it out.
Mhm.
And what John has said, like, we are just creating what works for us.
Yeah.
And while, my parents have been great examples for me, and John's parents have been great examples for him, and vice versa, we're creating Ashley and John's family, and our home and household. And so there are bits and pieces that we'll take away and implement, but at the same time, we have to figure out what works for us.
Mm-hmm. Very well said.
Yeah, and I was gonna say my parents, we were in a blessed situation because Ashley and I both had both parents in the home, and that isn't, I will say at this day and age, that's not the norm. So you're happy to be able to see that. I want to piggyback off the situation with the house situation. As far as expectations, no, but that,
you were correct. Or set the record straight, brother.
But that was one of the awakenings, the expectations being that somebody's not going to just go along with something just because they love you or say they love you. It's, you know, and I think, you know, that was one of the things you'd be like, well, you love me, so this is what we about to do. Like you would think, but that's not always the case. It takes some coaxing, it takes some persuasion, things of that nature.
Coaching.
And some submission, and I want to say on both parts, because it's one of those things where it's a compromise and sacrifice. Like,
say that one again so he can write it down. It takes submission on both parts. Write that one down.
I mean, but that's the thing.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Jonathan, the word submission, because that's like a loaded word, you know, especially, you know, I don't want to say a strong woman, but an independent woman, you know, and sometimes just like men, we could get set in our ways, you know, and be extra stubborn, just like, you know, they can. But what do you mean by submission? How does that play out? And I'm glad that you mentioned, look at her, Ashley. I'm glad that you mentioned that it's for both sides, because normally when people hear that word, it is the woman in particular who is to be submissive. And and some people will be like, gee, but seriously, I have absolutely no problem with being submissive to my husband. And ladies, really, you should only be submissive to your husband, not your boyfriend, because that's not your husband. And so what I learned was that, you know, they have to be a good leader and covering and have my best interests at heart. And it makes it a little easier to be submissive when you understand the intentions behind everything, you know. And so you mentioned it for guys and girls. Talk about that a little more.
Well, so something that I've read in a lot of books, and especially when it comes to leadership, they talk about servant leadership. And you think about like when you are at the helm of the ship that is your family, not majority, I was going to say especially your decisions that are regarding your family, they should be in service of your family and God. Both of those. And I think it's just important. I think of the verse when I think of leadership and submission is as much peace lieth within you, live peaceably with all men. And I think it's about keeping, if you want peace in your marriage, it's about keeping peace in your marriage. Sometimes as a wife, you will have to submit just for, okay, this obviously is the direction. I'm not only trusting my husband, but I'm trusting God that he is following, you know, God's leadership and making a decision that is in our best interest rather than his best interest. So I think trust is a huge, I think it's probably the main thing, because it's really going to be hard to submit to somebody that you don't trust.
Absolutely.
Because that's you jumping on a boat and hoping they don't sink it. You know what I'm saying? It's just you're hoping that, and I think they were talking about, and I've heard this from many ministers, so this isn't me, but they talk about, you know, it's submitting to the mission. There should be a mission that you guys are pointed toward. So, and I think that's kind of the same way when it comes to the man. If it's an area that she's strong in, or if it's something that you know that maybe that, you know, she's being led by the Lord, as much peace lieth within you to live peacefully, especially if you want in your marriage. Okay, let me just rock with her on this one. And I think the best leaders have been the best followers. I think you have to know how to do both roles in order to really be able to lead, I think, effectively. So I think at the end of the day, just because we know how marriage is structured and how God structured it as Christ being between Christ and the church, yes, the man is the head of the home, but there is, you know, as I believe is in Song of Solomon, there's a time and place for everything. There's seasons that you're going to go through. And that doesn't mean you have to be militant about everything. I think it's, one, make sure you're following God in everything. And I think he'll lead you. I know he'll lead you.
And I think it's easier for women to submit to their husband when he's following God. You know what I'm saying? And you know that he has a relationship with the Father. And so he is already in order. Yeah. So it's easier for her to submit. But if he out of order and he off the chain, it might be a little difficult for that wife to be so submissive, brothers. I'm here to tell you, you know. So we're going to move on over. I'm a little nervous. Move on over to the Lees. And so we'll start off. I should be. And so we'll start off with that first question. And thank you guys. That was really good, Hardee's. Is your marriage everything you thought it would be?
So what I like about this dialogue is they came from two-parent homes. And we came from two-parent homes, but in a different direction. So Richard's dad died when he was 8. Right. And my mother was married to my father, but my father chose substance over his family. Oh. So when we moved from Kansas, I grew up in Kansas. A lot of people don't know the first part of my life, and moved to Mississippi, where we're originally from, with my grandmother. So I did have a two-parent home, my mother and my grandmother, but I was raised by strong women. So when I came into the marriage, and I'm still learning that independence, I was taught independence. I was taught that education was important. My grandmother died when she was 85, but back then Jackson State was Campbell College. And so education was huge for people during that era because, you know, read, get your education, get a better job. So I was pushed to be great, even if I ended up in a situation where I didn't have a husband, like my mother did. Well, she was a single parent with me and my sister, but we've soared tremendously because we were molded to be strong women. Mm-hmm. So when I got married, that's why I said, you asked, was it what you thought it would be? Yes, as far as companionship, the togetherness. I was always told that the husband supports his wife, not just financially, but emotionally, spiritually. Definitely expected that. But when I first got married, I thought my independence was stripped, only because that's how I was raised. So now I'm learning, like she said, the mergers of finances. You know, a lot of people know that I like to dress. I like shoes. You know, I like different things. So
like Ashley.
I like nice things. So, you know, I had my, coming with your own account, coming with your own finances, coming with your own job, you can get what you want. And then he was like, oh, well, I saw you bought some shoes. And I'm like, well, I got to tell you when I buy something, but that was hard for me. And it's still something that I struggle with, because there's some days I want to be bothered, some days I don't. But not in the sense of marriage, but it's necessary for you to have that separate time.
Absolutely.
You take time for yourself. If he has friends, he goes with his friends. He works on his music. I might go over there, and cleaning is my habit. I like to clean. That's kind of like therapy for me. So I clean, organize. I'm kind of OCD just a little bit. Mm-hmm. So that was big for me, the independence part, because I was taught as a woman, you come from a single parent home, but I don't ever tell, when people say, did you have a 2-parent home? I said, definitely. I had my mother and my grandmother, 2 strong Black women that incorporated, building who you are. So if ever a time you by yourself, you can survive.
That's right.
So I had to learn how to be submissive in the fact that I still have my independence, but I can also depend on my husband.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. Richie?
Yeah, I was, one thing that I learned, there's certain titles that you're born with. So I was born with the title of son, nephew, cousin. But this title of husband is a little bit different. It's not like a job title, because a job title, you have this thing called an off day. And when you don't want to go to work, you put it in leave.
You better preach, Richard.
And you could take your off day. And sometimes some jobs you still might get a call. Some jobs, when you off, you're off. Well, with this new title that I received as husband, there's no off days. And so you are on the spotlight. Every move you make, everything that you say, every tone that you give off, even if it's just what you think is, well, how's your day? Somebody else may interpret it as, well, how is your day?
Okay.
So there's no days off. There's no times off. This is for life. And so I think that was like the biggest thing that I learned going in. It's like, okay, any other job that I've done, I've been able to just go and be away. But this title is you're always on. There's no days off. And so I had to learn that I had to be on. I can't afford to take a day off. I can't check out mentally in my marriage, because I can remember early on, like being at work and just being like, man, what's going on with her? Why is it going like this? And like I said, she was in school getting all this stuff. And when she came home, she just needed to be home. But I wanted wife. I wanted you to talk. I wanted to know what was going on with you. But life has, she in a pressure situation. And so I had to learn that things that may be said or certain things are not necessarily directed to you. It's not that it was anything mad at me, but guess who was the only person in the house?
Right.
We don't have no dog. No, we do have some plants, but we don't have dogs. We don't have cats.
Why we don't have a dog?
Because I don't want one. We praying on the dog situation.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, she's praying. I'm not. Anyway, let me move this thing on. But there's no days off, and that's what I've learned.
That's real. You guys are hitting on some very good points that could be very beneficial to those who are wanting to get married and those who are already married. You touching on some very good points because there are no off days. And what I had to learn being married also is that my husband did not want to hear every single detail of my day when I walked in the house. Okay. I needed to, and it took after me crying for about 4 months of figuring out what I was supposed to do every day as a wife, because I struggled with that, watching Oprah and watching these other shows back in the day. I'm like, nobody told me, am I supposed to cook every day? Am I supposed to, run a vacuum every day? Am I supposed to iron his clothes every morning? Am I supposed to pack his lunch? I didn't know like the rules, if there were any. Like, are we supposed to make the bed every day? I mean, like, I wanted to know what I was supposed to do so that I was doing those things and I was good at it. But, there might be plenty of manuals, but really it's different when you in it and you living with somebody, and it's different when you living with a man for the first time and living with a woman for the first time. You got to get over the socks don't go there. I'm sorry. Hang the towel this way and don't leave it here. Make sure your clothes go over, so it was some adjusting. So, but through time, and this is why the newlywed phase is so important. All of what you guys are doing is right on point, for the first years of being newlyweds. You are living and bringing both worlds into one. You're merging into one. So that's quite an adjustment. You know what I'm saying? Fitting everything in, because you have all these experiences and lessons, and then they have all these experiences and lessons. And so it is about compromising, and it is about, being selfless, and not being so stubborn and feeling like, you got to have your way all the time. And what I had to learn was when my husband finally told me, G, when you come home, can you give me a break? Can you give me about an hour to, unwind and get my thoughts together before you run your whole day down? And so at first I was offended. I'm like, excuse me, but then I understood that when a man come home to his wife and his household, he wants peace. He does not want a whole bunch of drama, and he does not want a whole bunch of just extra worldly stuff coming in the house. That's why he come home to escape all of that. He coming home to get away from the real world. That's his safe haven, when he come home. So I had to learn how to create that space for him. And if my husband is telling me he need a break for the first hour or two, I'm not going to be offended. I'm not going to be slamming stuff and rumbling my mouth in the next room. I'm a respect, and respect is a big one too. Respect each other. Men respect women as well as women respecting their men. It's just as important as trust. And I know that in the Bible, it talks about, a man needing respect and a woman needing love. And I had to learn that respect and love, respect for a man is equivalent to love for a woman. That's how we show them how we love them, by respecting them and how we treat them and how we, respond to them. So real quick, y'all, we going into this hour, and I told y'all I wouldn't hold y'all over too much longer. So I got like 3 more things to do before we call it quits. So do you guys feel like you could have been that if your parents or family members who are married has schooled you a little bit more, that you would have been better prepared for marriage?
I think a lot of it is on the job training.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
no two people are alike. And if I were to follow, my parents or my grandparents or someone else's parents every single day, they're not Jamila.
Yeah.
And she's a whole nother person. And so we have to learn. I think that learn word is important. We have to, because she's going to evolve and her thoughts may change. Yeah. And so she may not be the person who I married. In some ways, that could be a good thing because we all want growth, right? We all want to spiritually grow and see new things and see things better. And so that learning process has to be one that you have to be open to.
That's good.
I agree. It's kind of like being in school. Like it's a different when somebody is teaching you off of theories and their experience rather than you actually being on the job. And I like the word that you use, Rich. Like it really is kind of like on the job training because you're basically thrown into experiences and you work it out. And I think that's also why God wanted us to trust him more so than other people, rather than us going to, now don't get me wrong, it's wise counsel is always good and, being able to have advice and things of that nature. But as far as like final say, God's the only person that has a manual on her. Like, as much as we like, our parents and things of that nature, he's the one who knows her better than she knows herself. And same with me. So I think, leaning on him a lot of times in situations makes it easier. But I think, it's to get information beforehand is good. And I think you can be prepared in some ways, but I think when you're in it, it's a totally different situation because then your emotions are in it and, you find out how you work when you're mad and you find out how you work when you're sad. So, and to have to cooperate with somebody while you're going through those emotions is different. So, I think more so, yes, you can be developed, but I think it's more so on the job training, like Rich was saying.
That was excellent. And somebody said these newlyweds are wise. Sharon Sutton said that. You guys are. I would tell you, because been there and done that, you are definitely starting off on the right foot. So I'm glad to hear a lot of the things that you guys have shared. So real quick before we move on, ladies and gentlemen, is there some advice that you would give? I'll start off with the ladies first. Is there some advice that you would give to a young lady who is in wait, who is waiting for her? And we touched on it a little bit, but I want you to give, your last comment on it. So we know that this is for her directly. A young lady who is in wait for her husband, is there any advice, because you've been there, done that, is there any advice that you would give her? Because the dating world we're in now is a little wacky. And we all have seen it. I've seen more reality shows that I really don't need to see no more for the rest of my life, honestly, especially with toxic dysfunctional relationships. I'm pretty good on that. So I'm glad when I saw this show Black Love that there was another side of relationships, because all of it does not have to be dysfunctional and toxic. There are healthy, Christ-centered relationships out here. So ladies, what would you tell the woman in wait what she could be doing during her wait that worked for you? And you may not have been in waiting just for your husband to come, or maybe you were, but tell them what worked for you, or what you were doing before, your husband, and you all touched on it, before your husband proposed.
Well, biblically, God put in my spirit to read Esther. So if anybody read Esther, Esther had to be prepared for a year, 12 months before she even went to the king. Because, they prepared the different people to go before the queen so he could actually pick his wife. And the preparation that she had to go through made sure once she got where she needed to be, that she would be guaranteed to pick. And people don't look at it like that. When people read the Bible, they don't think of it in layman terms or in 2020. But I thought about it while I was dating. I was like, I've never really paid attention. You don't commonly hear it preached, Esther. So it's something that you kind of read on your own. When you read it, you think about the things that she had to go through, fasting and praying, grooming, inside and out. She spoke well. It's just different things. So that's what I did. But I looked at it within myself. And it wasn't necessarily preparing to be married, but loving on myself, preparing myself to be a better person for him. And because before I even got married to Richard, I was in a dark place. And so I wasn't ready to even love anybody because I didn't love myself. But when God sent somebody to love me through it, I started looking at it spiritual. I was like, well, God, you love us through all of our mess. Yes. So, and He loves us unconditionally. So somebody can, and man, you spoke on this, somebody can be broken. That don't mean necessarily you have to be whole going into a marriage, because he's not whole coming into the marriage. Mm-hmm. You're colliding two worlds and you're getting through it together. And that's where the compromise is. That's where the support comes from. That's where the covering comes from. In the mess and the insecurity, can he pray for you? Or can she pray for you? Can she support you? Like Jonathan said, she supported him through his book. He was there to support her with her business. He came all the way from Detroit to Tallahassee to support me in my career. I support him in his ministry and his music. And so that's what it comes to. So in waiting, not waiting necessarily to be married or even dating, do what you're supposed to be doing. Do your work. And a lot of times you hear a lot of people say, faith without works is dead. And people think it's cliche, but if you're working, that's one thing. But you have the faith in working. And God dealt with me so much last year with faith, because I didn't know what 2020 was going to hold. we didn't know this was going to happen this year, and faith was so huge. You can ask Richard. I have like notes and journals just dedicated to faith. And if you actually believe, and you hear people now talk about manifestation. Manifestation is real, but I wish people would get over the manifestation of material things and start manifesting deliverance and healing.
Oh,
because that's how you get to that place in your career. If you heal and be delivered in the spiritual, you'll get where you need to be in the natural.
Amen.
So in your way,
I said, stop right there, girl, because that was a good nugget. The good nugget. Because I want to get y'all know I could talk to y'all 2 more hours. So I promised Jonathan we wouldn't go 2 hours. So Ashley, same question. What would you like to give any nuggets to those girls who are trying so patiently to wait on their Boaz? What nuggets would you give them?
Yeah, it's funny that Jamila just had mentioned heal, because I was writing down, like, yes, you don't have to be whole, but you should be healed, because you can't, having holes within who you are, whether you're knowing yourself or just from a place of like self-efficacy, that will impact not only, similar to what I said before, like you're going to attract certain things,
which you are,
and you're going to miss. You could miss out on the blessing that God has for you, because you're not able to see it because you are so
broken.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I'd also say live. Just because you're waiting doesn't mean you can't be living and doing life. And for me, what worked was working on becoming my best self.
That's right. That's what this show is all about, becoming the best version of you. Yes, Ashley.
And not necessarily, I think, one of the I guess results from becoming my best self would be that, yes, my future husband would have that. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was like, until that happens, until, God makes it very clear that, okay, it's time to move in the direction. Like, I'm trying to get these promotions. I'm trying to get these raises. Similar to Jamila, like, both my parents worked. So my sister and I were very driven. And, for me, it was like, okay, I need to move up the ranks within my career, because who knows, maybe in doing that, that's where, our path will cross. I want to be healthy. So I was like in the gym all the time. John met me probably at the fittest of my life. I'm gonna get back there after.
That's right. It's not too late.
And also what worked, I think what I needed to do in that waiting season was fully understand like why I was in the wait. Mm-hmm. Right. So for me, it was like, obviously he has me trying to learn a couple of lessons.
That's good.
And I need to figure out what the test is and how to pass. And so a lot of it was because I was focused more so on getting a husband than I was focused on building my relationship with God. And once I flipped that and was more focused on him than focused on being in a relationship or being with somebody, that's when the contentment came. That's when I was like, well, when it happens, it happens, Lord. I pray that it happens before I'm 33 or 35, but if I'm going to be a Sarah type of example, give me peace until that happens.
Girl, you and Jamila better preach, girl. I'm going to stop you too, because I could go on about that another hour. This is so good.
It is good. And like she said, her way, while she's waiting, she was getting herself together. But mine was, that's why I like this dialogue. She was in one place and I was in another. Like mine, I was stripped of everything. I had lost my job. I had to go back home. So God was like, okay, you don't have anything. Do you trust me? And so a lot of times when we pray and you hear people all say, oh, you trust God. Do you really trust God? Do you really, like, if something happened to you today and you lost everything and you were down to your last, could you really stand up and say, do I trust God? Because that flies out of a lot of Christians' mouth. And trusting God is on a totally different level. Like even with me and Richard's marriage, like the stuff that we went through our first year, people would have been out. I'm talking about been out. But we stood together and said, you know what? We trust God.
And that's the main ingredient to a successful, healthy, long-lasting relationship is God being at that head. All right, ladies, because y'all know I could talk to y'all all night too. So brothers, you know, I got to make my promise to Jonathan. Brothers, they got to go get the baby, y'all. Jonathan, what would you say to a young man who is single and who is tired of meeting certain women who are materialistic or women who have low self-esteem because they're looking at this world and how long their lashes should be and how long their nails should be and how long their weave should be and, you know, doing all of this stuff for a man to pick her? What would you say to a brother who actually wants somebody, this is for you too, Richie, somebody who has wifey material, who is not superficial, and who has the ingredients of a healthy relationship? Because, you know, you might have fun with this type, but you're gonna marry this type. So what would you speak to that brother who is done having his fun and he's trying to patiently look for the one? What would you guys say to him?
I think I'm gonna piggyback off of Ash and Jamila, but I think it is really about getting yourself to a place that you're secure enough with yourself without a partner. I know a lot of people, like, they wait to be happy when they get somebody, and like I can't wait till, you know, she come in my life, we're gonna be doing this, and yes, there is gonna be some of that, a lot of that, but I think you have to get to a point where you're able to be enjoying yourself and your time before you even get to that point. And then I think too, like, don't force it. I like the fact, one of the things that I did like about Ashley, it was just like she was a little bit more laid back in our relationship in general. Like she wasn't calling all the time and things of that nature. And it was just like, one, it kind of gets you off guard because you're like, what's she doing? You know what I'm saying? Like,
you like me or what?
Where you at? Like, and so it was something different. But you know, as I listen to like business people and celebrities and things of that nature, a lot of people just fall into like great situations that they weren't forcing. They were just happy with where they were. They were just trying to pursue a certain thing and trusting that it would happen. And I think a lot of us just lose hope. I think stay hopeful no matter what. But I think, you know, don't force it, because there's some people that will, you know, they get somebody and they're just like suffocating them. They call them all the time or always be trying to show up, hang out and things of that nature. Yes, of course, enjoy being with that person, but don't like overdo it.
Yeah.
An analogy that I like using is when it comes to golf. Like, you know, if you talk to any golfer, they're going to tell you loosen your grip on the actual golf club, because it tightens your shoulders and then you can't actually swing through. And I think it's the same way with the person. I mean, don't like not call them for a month, but I mean, it's like you should know, like when things are flowing, like allow it to flow. Like don't like suffocate somebody where you're causing them to, you're pushing them away rather than like you actually growing together. So just that. And then the last thing I would say is like get something of your own that you just love to do. So I know with our relationship, like I have motorcycles, golf, writing, you know, poetry and things of that nature. And I think those are things that keep you centered on who you are.
Your own identity.
Yeah, like Ashley was saying, it's like you're trying to be the best person that you are no matter what, whether you're in a relationship, whether you are a parent, like you're trying to be the best you, because that's the only way that you can service people the best. You know, they say you can't pour into a glass if the pitcher is empty. So you have to be able to have something within you in order to give it to the people that you are in relationships with. So just definitely get to a place where you love yourself and that you are investing in yourself and remembering that you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So
that's so good. That mirror is no joke. That's what got me together, because I'm looking at them like, oh my God, these guys were not raised right. What is wrong with them? And then I realized, I'm like, Mary, let's do an evaluation here, since I went to school to be a therapist. I'm like, you're the common denominator here. So I'm like, ooh, reality check. So I had to take some time and work on myself and become whole and let the Lord mend my broken pieces. Yeah. And that's so important. Not to, a lot of people say, you know, I'm looking for my better half, or I'll become whole when I get with them. No, sweetheart and mister, you have to be whole. I know we won't be perfect, Jamila, but we got to be whole before we meet. Don't expect them to complete you. Be complete before you get with them. Sure. And then that makes for a healthier relationship, because you know they're not your mom, they're not your dad, and whatever those issues are, they are not here to be that, fill those voids. So you got to get all of that situated. And or you know, even if you got to do it while dating, but get that situated before you at least tie the knot. All right, Richie, let's close this out, y'all. We done ran way over. We have not had the time to play the Newlywed game that I was so geeked about playing, because I want y'all to finish the rest of y'all night with each other and go get your little one. So Richie, same question.
You know, the preacher and the two evangelists have just taken it all, but I wrote down a little something while they were talking. And what I wrote was that God is the ultimate creator.
Yes.
God is, his creation is vast. If you ever go to the mountains of the West, or to the mountains of in the Tennessee, or you travel overseas, you can see that God's creation is so amazing. There's low valleys and high mountains.
You better preach.
And we can experience all that he has, but there's all of his creation is not for us. Mm. So young man, every woman is not for you. You may have access to what you think is her through her profile picture, through her Instagram, through her DM, but everything is that just because you have access visually, it's not for you. And so because we have access to these things where we can just click and we can see what somebody look like, and the women don't have to leave it to the imagination. They're letting us know exactly what it looked like. You go on Instagram and it's right there for you. You know, I'm trying to look up gospel music, and it's some other gospel going. You know, it's some other, you know, and it's right there for you. And so you have to be able to guard not only your heart, but guard your eyes, guard your mind. And so that's what I would say to young men. And even when I was, you know, in the scene or looking for a wife, because I was actively looking, I was actively out there trying to see what all God had. And everything is not for you. You're not gonna find everything. Like, I only gave my last name to one person.
My God.
So what can I give at this point? I'm gonna give my last name to 2 or 3. And so I have to, you know, even though it's right there for us, it's not for you.
And everything that glitter ain't gold, I'm here to tell you.
Right. Yeah, just because the profile picture, you know, she got the perfect angle on that picture, her life may not be the perfect angle for your life.
Or her mental capacity. I had to learn that too in the dating scene. Some people have mental illnesses, y'all. Okay.
And that's a whole other topic that you can cover next week, G. That's a whole...
What'd you say, Richie?
I said that's a whole nother topic that you can cover next week and the week after.
I promise you. I promise you. There's some people out here that got some stuff going on. They might look beautiful, him or her. You get to talking to him after you get over that flesh, after you done got what you want, and you get to know him, you like, oh, shoot, let me get out of here. So be careful. Be careful.
Before it's too late.
Before it's too late.
Because we're not gonna show you everything in the beginning.
Oh no.
We're gonna show you that profile picture.
That's right. That's right. Until they get you in there, you're like, oh Lord.
Can we keep it real? We're gonna show you who we're not, so that we can get what we want.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right, Richie, we gonna end right there, y'all. Y'all done preached us out of here, okay? Thank you so much. I appreciate all of this. I'm going to watch it again myself and take some notes. Y'all were an amazing set of newlyweds that I've ever talked to. And I've done these type of shows in person with the audience. So everybody who's intimate knows that, relationship conversation is truly my passion. And so I thank you for the time. I know we went over an hour. Please don't charge it to my heart, Jonathan.
It's no problem.
But you guys,
at this point anyway.
Okay, but you guys were incredible, the women and the men. And I truly, all of the viewers, please watch this, rewind. Can you rewind? Yeah, I think you can, but watch this a couple times if you have to, because they dropped some really, really, really good nuggets for young folks and old, for newlyweds and 40-year-old marriages, okay? Because sometimes you get set in your ways in 40, 50 years of marriage, so sometimes you got to refresh, reset, And so you guys gave some valuable information. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. I truly, humbly appreciate you. And I will have you guys give me your contact information. I know Richie is into music and Jonathan writes books. And I found out that Miss Ashley got a podcast. So, and then we got a dentist up here in the making. No dentist?
Pharmacist.
Pharmacist. Okay. That's still a doctor. Okay.
I'm a drug dealer. I be drug dealer. Legally.
To make us well, though. To make us well. So we got some awesome people who joined us tonight. So I'll put your information on this thread so they can follow you, support you, and I appreciate you. So guys, we'll see you next Tuesday for another episode of Black Love. I have another couple that I have interviewed 3 times, husband and wife. They're one of my favorites. They've been married 40 years. And I could talk to them for 5 hours, and I'm gonna have to put a timer to stop me because they like to talk to y'all. But they have some valuable information that and you guys tune in also, some valuable information, to share and add to the pot. So thank you guys. See you next time, and have a good night. God bless you all.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, that concludes the Becoming the Best Version of You with Gigi show. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us, y'all. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and check out our other inspiring videos. Until next time, toodles.